So today I'm going to be talking about death. And I know this topic is a little bit sensitive and it's not something that a lot of people openly talk about, but I do believe that it's something that a lot of people end up thinking about at certain stages of their life. I mean, I can't be the only one who's a little bit tripped out right now over the fact that we're alive. And at any moment, this experience could end without any notice. I think it's the reason why a lot of people try to find some sort of meaning or life philosophy within their own life, to provide a reason for their existence. So some people will value the importance of enjoying life right now because, to be honest, life is honestly very short. On the other hand, there are other people who try to put in a lot of effort into trying to be remembered after their death. So they try to create something which transcends time, if that makes any sense. But of course, it's all individual and our life philosophy changes all the time as we naturally grow up, and we just have different views and opinions based on our environment, and just also our perception and relationship with time also changes, which is also pretty interesting because we get used to the time passing by and we don't value time as much as we should. Maybe you're in your late teens or 20s watching this and you just have this feeling that you're going to be this young forever, and you assume that your older self would have things figured out, like being a millionaire by 30. Also, for some reason, the thought of us dying feels like it's going to be ages away, since a lot of us assume that we're going to be living up until at the very least 60 years old, and potentially a lot longer due to the advancements in technology. But that's the thing, we're severely underestimating this concept of death, because who guaranteed us that we're going to live that long? Now, of course, I'm not going to be one of those people who, every time the birthday rolls up, I'm just thinking about how I'm 1 year closer to my death. I mean, this is a bit of a side topic, but for me personally, I personally don't really like or care about celebrating my birthday. Not even in a nihilistic sense. I just feel like I'm already happy and fulfilled right now, and if I were to pass away right now, I honestly would be satisfied knowing the fact that I've done my best with the cards I've been dealt in life. It's also the reason why, if there was a choice to be either immortal or live a normal lifespan, honestly, I would go with the normal lifespan, because honestly, being immortal is a curse. And the negative aspects of this idea of being immortal was honestly perfectly portrayed in the movie Logan, the Wolverine. And one of the core themes throughout the video was how lonely Logan felt. Also the fact that he experienced so much loss and him outliving all of his friends and loved ones. You can only imagine how much depression and just emptiness you would feel, as you would just think to yourself, what's even the point of living if all you're experiencing is suffering? We can also view life like a bit of a video game that a lot of us are involuntarily participating in, and as we're playing the game, we're seeing other people who are quote-unquote logging out and never making a return. I don't know about you, but I've personally never seen anyone come back from the gulag or the afterlife, if that's even a real thing. Imagine though, you taking your last breath and then you have to 1v1 some other guy who's also just passed away. But it just goes to show how little we know about this current life, as well as the potential of an afterlife. I mean, most of the smartest people on this planet throughout history can't tell you for certain how life and this whole universe that we're in started in the first place. And the way we are even asking these questions comes from our brain and our consciousness, which is also something that a lot of people can't quite explain what it really is. Because the fact that we can comprehend our own existence and use our brains to project into the future about our death and afterlife is honestly incredible. Unless everything just ends in a black screen and this whole spiritual talk is just a hoax. And trust me, I've read so many philosophical and religious books, from the Quran to the Bible, to try and get a definitive answer. And it's a video I'll probably make in the near future. And with this comes the feeling of depression and anxiety, especially if you don't have a definitive truth or just something where you can put your faith in. And I'm not gonna lie, I genuinely don't think anyone really knows what we're actually doing on this planet. And this fear of death is like a big question mark, because honestly, no one really knows. And I would also make the argument that a lot of people that you see around you, a lot of people are already spiritually dead inside. What I mean by that is, a lot of people tend to go through the daily motions without actually being present in what they're really doing. And they also tend to have a stimulant addiction and engage in a lot of escapism. I would actually notice this on my way to work, and bro, people just don't want to be there. Their faces have this depressive, apathetic look on their faces. And of course, I don't blame them, because I can understand why they would become that type of person with the nature of the work that they would be doing. Now, of course, I may be in the complete wrong here, and I probably shouldn't be judging its book by its cover, but I cannot help but come to this conclusion after I've been interacting with some of these people. And they didn't have to tell me their entire life story, but their attitude alone just told me the whole picture. It's like the sulking, yawning attitude which was consistent throughout my interaction, whereas I was here with so much energy and brain power. Like, bro, I was thinking about what the next video I was going to make on this channel. And that's not to say I'm like better than anybody else, because let's be honest, nobody is probably gonna care about these videos after I pass away. But it's just that I have this mindset of we only have a limited amount of time on this planet, and you best believe I'm trying to work on a purpose-driven goal or just enjoy life and just create meaningful memories. And I do feel as though that a lot of us, including myself, at certain points of our lives got this balance of work and enjoyment a little bit wrong. Because just a couple of years ago, all I could think about was just grinding, and I thought to myself that I can do the whole enjoying life and creating memories thing a little bit later. It's kind of this self-help paradox, as everything just starts to become about me, and we kind of forget as to the reasons as to why we started working on ourselves in the first place. But we eventually come to a stage where we're mature enough and understand that our development, whether that's physically, mentally, or spiritually, was not for something superficial like money, cars, or women, but is rather for our own well-being and our betterment of quality of life. And in turn, this makes you more equipped to go out there and actually do the meaningful things that you want to do in your life. This was actually something I found very interesting when I watched Attack on Titan. And don't worry, I'm not going to be giving out any spoilers, as I'm going to explain this concept in a more abstract sense. So this character initially followed a life philosophy that all of human life was just suffering, and in some cases, it may have been better off if humans didn't exist at all. But then this character had a eureka effect of realizing that it was actually the little joys of life, whether that's you hanging around with your mates or just doing something that you find truly fulfilling, is what makes life worth living. And to be honest, I used to have these super nihilistic thoughts, and sometimes I still do, where I would sometimes think to myself, what if I, not to sound like dark or anything, but what if I were to remove myself from the equation? I genuinely don't think much would change, right? And I'm going to be honest, that statement is still somewhat true, but I feel like the perspective that I had back then, and still some cases now, is a little bit flawed, and I'll explain why. So number one is that the very fact that I have a minimal impact on this earth means that I could pretty much experiment and do whatever I like, within reason of course. And number two is that I'm severely underestimating how much impact I can have on a smaller scale. And by this, I'm talking about, say, the little acts of kindness that you do to other people that you truly care about around you. And this is what I want to leave off the video with you, because I think a lot of us try to go for this grandiose impact, which we can leave on for generations upon generations, but we're forgetting the little impacts that we have on a day-to-day basis. And I think the worst thing that you can feel just before you pass away is this deep-rooted feeling of regret, and this feeling that you haven't really been useful in life, and you not being able to be vulnerable enough to share your own story with another person that you can truly trust.